Hello everyone, this is episode 3 of my series that has to do with generations in the church. And in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 4 choices that, one big choice really that you need to make as an individual and as a congregation about the best way to move forward for you, or what you want to do as you move forward. And then depending on how you would answer that question, the next thing would be 4 mindsets that you really need to adopt in order to be successful in doing ministry along the lines of generations. The first thing that I want to do here is talk about, we've come to this point, we understand that there's several different generations that make up today's modern American church, and if you're looking at that and understanding that, then you know that you've at some point either looked up at the older people or looked down at the younger people in your church and just felt like there was some kind of disconnect. The way that you see the world was just very different than how they see the world, or the way that you were trying to or wanting to do church and appreciated things at church, like they just didn't see those things or value those things the same way. And how do we move forward that if we definitely want to move forward together? What are the options that we have? So here's a couple of ways to think about it, okay? So the first thing that you can do is just to do nothing, right? Just ignore it. Say, okay, yeah, there's different generations in the church, but we're just going to keep doing things as we've done them, because overall, like, there's ebbs and flows, and at some point, you know, other families will come in, or younger people will come in, and some people will stick and some people won't. Some people will like the way that we do things and some people won't. And so we're really not going to worry about this generational thing. And that's one response. It's a valid response. You can take that approach, okay? The second thing that is maybe very similar in approach, but I guess it would be a very different mindset, would be to be intentionally homogeneous. All right, so that would be looking at it like, all right, most of our congregation is, baby boomers, or most of us are builders. And so what we're going to do is we kind of understand that we've got older boomers and younger builders, and this makes up kind of who we are as a congregation. We're going to look at that and say, evangelistically, these are the people that we're best able to reach out to. And so instead of trying to reach out to younger generations and people that have a very different worldview than us and have different expectations and values when it comes to things of God and church, we're just going to try to reach the people that are like us. And so we're going to find the people that are frustrated with their changing churches. We're going to find people that are in our age group but are looking for spirituality or looking for Jesus, and we're going to try to connect with them. Now, it's different than just ignoring everything together. It is actually putting together some kind of profile of a person that you feel like God has equipped your congregation to be able to reach out to. And that's not everybody wouldn't agree on that as being the best way to go forward, maybe, but it could be the best way forward for your church. And if you think about it as being different cultures, here's where that could make sense. Let's say that you are a Spanish-speaking church, and you are in a city, and you speak Spanish. You could say, well, let's try to change and go from speaking Spanish to speaking English because more of the people in our city speak English. Now, I mean, you gotta listen to God, and however God's directing you, and so that may be the right thing for that church to do. But it also may be the right thing for that church to kind of accept, like, we're one of the only Spanish-speaking churches in this area, and so for all of the people around who speak Spanish, that's their primary language. Like, we are a good fit for them, and where they might go to some other church and feel out of place, they will come to our church and feel very welcome. And so homogeneity is not inherently a wrong thing, right? It can get kind of sketchy if you become exclusive, right? If someone comes in that doesn't fit that mold of, like, this is who we're trying to reach out to, and then you reject them based off of that. Like, they come to your church and you're like, well, you're too young, you don't belong here, or your skin's the wrong color, or you speak the wrong language, or you're from the wrong country, then obviously that gets to where it's crossing the line from being a missionary kind of advantage to being evil and sinful. But that is one way that people could go about things. You know, you could say like, oh, we're a white church. Do we need to become multicultural? We're a black church. Do we need to become multicultural? Or can we embrace the kind of homogeneity of our current congregation and understand that maybe these are the people that we're best able to reach out to? And again, that's not to say that we're going to deny people that don't fit whatever that might be, that mold. But that now we've got kind of a target of here's people that we feel God is calling us to reach out to. And so if we apply that to generational lines, I think a church could do that. If you're a church that's got a lot of young people, you could say we have a really good body and a group of people. We've got a really great opportunity to reach out to millennials. It doesn't mean that if somebody comes and they're 75 years old, we're going to turn them away. We're just seeing that this is a great opportunity to reach out. We're equipped to reach out to this specific generation. And so that is one way that you could move forward. All right. A third thing that you could try to do is be multi-generational. So we saw a lot of this, I don't know, 10 to 20, 25 years ago, and in the church world, they called it the worship wars, right? And so it was kind of the divide between the builders and the boomers, where the boomers were like, we want contemporary worship, and the builders were like, no, we want traditional worship. And so some of those groups, some of those churches were able to kind of smooth things out and kind of have worship that were hybrid, or some just gave in completely to one group or the other, right, and did more of the homogeneity thing. But others decided to go to two separate services, right? And so you see it on the church signs sometimes, or on their websites, and they'll say like 9:30 traditional service, 11 contemporary service. And so that same kind of mindset you can put into doing a multi-generational church, where you just kind of separate the generations out. You think, oh well, our youth group is just so very different from the rest of the congregation. So what we want to provide for them with Bible class and with worship and with outreach and with activity is so vastly different from the rest of the congregation. We're just going to separate all of that. So the congregation worships Sunday morning, but the youth group is going to get together Saturday night or Sunday night, and they're going to have their own and separate worship time then. Or they're going to go to a different building and have their own worship time in that other building at the same time where the adults are worshiping, you know, in the main hall or whatever it might be. And so you can intentionally be multi-generational, where you either do multiple services or have multiple locations, where one meets the needs of one generation or some generations that have a similar mindset, and the other service is developed and created to meet the needs and hit the values of the other generation or generations. So multi-generational. So you can kind of go homogeneous, multi-generational, or intergenerational, and that is where you just put everybody together. You try to act and live and worship and do church in a way that all of the generations are meeting together, are interacting together, are working together, and doing it in such a way that hopefully you're not doing the kind of thing where like nobody's happy because everybody's giving in, but that because God is happy, right, because you're trying to please the Lord, that everybody maybe is making some sacrifices, right, but within those sacrifices there's the joy of inner generations and communicating with each other and learning from each other and hearing each other's stories and seeing each other's perspectives, and then letting those be some things that make you complain and grumble and confused about why they see the world that way, but that stretch us and grow us and make all of our faith better. And so those are different choices that you as an individual kind of need to make. Like, how am I going to react to different generations? Am I just going to say like, well, you're just so different, I'm just going to stay away from you, you know, or I'm just not going to bother, I don't care, I'm going to do my own thing? Or that I'm going to, I feel called to that I shouldn't just be a person that operates within my own generation, that I'm going to try to talk to the people older than me and learn from their worldview and their perspectives and hear their stories, and I'm going to try to touch base with the people younger than me and learn from their worldview and their perspective and hear their stories. So We have to do that as individuals, and then congregationally, as churches or as movements, to kind of say, what do we want to be and who do we want to be?